Matt, could you begin by just kind of running down today's picks and what you liked about each of those guys?
I think Scott called me on the way in this morning with the potential of maybe moving up. We talked about certain guys. Brandon Smith was a guy that we've targeted for a long time. I don't know, Scott, what, 6'4", 250 pounds, 4'5", 40. Part of that group of kids. He's young. He came out early. You see all the physical traits, especially in this division where you have to, have linebackers who can run with tight ends, run with running backs. And so just being persistent enough to find a way to get back into the fourth. To think yesterday we didn't have a second or third. We got into the third. We were able to get back into the fourth, pick up a physical, specimen like Brandon Smith, and then follow that up by, two other of the fastest players in the draft. So really excited about, the moves that were made to get Brandon here.
We'll go with Steve Reed, followed by Jonathan Alexander.
Hey, Matt, just wanted to put your talent evaluation to the test here. And what would you say was a better NFL prospect, Matt Rhule coming out of Penn State or Brandon Smith?
Yeah, I got a text that Brandon didn't know that I played there. You would be surprised that there's not a lot of pictures of me hanging at the Penn State football facility, save for LeVar Arrington, Jack Ham, those types of guys, Shane Conlon. But in all seriousness, Brandon's got all the tools to be a great talent, a great player. Now it's up to the real work starts, right? You take guys coming out after 3 years, especially with the COVID year. Coach Franklin and them do a great job, but we really have to really get them here and get them to learn our system so we can get them on the field as fast as possible.
Hey, Matt, I assume this is the case, but you did recruit Kalen Barnes, correct?
Yeah, I recruited Boogie and then coached him for I guess it would be 2 years now.
And what do you remember of that time, and how is it to bring him, to Carolina, somebody that you knew ahead of?
I think the biggest thing is, he's, I remember, he went and raced, Schwartz, he ran like a 10-100. I mean, he's a track athlete who plays corner at 6 foot. At the end of the day, we were going back and forth between two players, and Scott made the decision to, at the end of the draft, we're really going with traits. But Evan Cooper's our DB coach. He coached him. He's smart. He's competitive, but he's 4.28. He's one of the fastest guys to run at the combine. So, I've had a lot of players that played for me in this draft that went. I had a lot of fun FaceTimes with guys that went in day 2 from Baylor. But we brought Boogie here not because I coached him, but because he can flat fly, and so put him in a room with guys like J.C. Horn and Dante Jackson, let him really learn his craft, and I think he could potentially emerge as a player.
All right. We go David Newman, followed by Ellis Williams.
Hey, Matt. Congrats on your draft there. What do you like best about this class?
Well, I think it's a rare time when we're able to address need and take what we felt like was the best player possible. And again, Scott, I thought did an amazing job of, it's what is it now? It's multiple trades yet again for the second year. So we were able to, we felt like, and I think we said this, I think Scott said it, we feel like we have a really deep team now. We feel like over the last couple of years we've built depth. Scott's done a great job of going out at the 53 cut at the end of the year and bringing guys in to build depth, and we wanted some impact players. And so, to me, Icky has a chance to be an impact player. Helping our offensive line, which has been obviously coming out of the end of the season, something that we wanted to improve. Matt Corral's a guy that we were talking about, being a day one pick for us. For whatever reason, he was available in the third round. We made the move to go get him. But then I think the athleticism of today, to take Brandon Smith. Barno at I don't know, Scott, 6'5", 6'4". He ran 4.38, and then Boogie at 4.28. I think having guys who run that fast, they just make your special teams better. When a guy like Brian Burns needs a blow or Marquise Haynes needs a blow, you have a guy like Barno that can step in and has the same skill set. So I like the fact that we got targeted guys, the right guys, and then to add, Cade Mays, a guy we had ranked really highly on the offensive line, to bring some depth inside. I think that's really good as well. So I think it's really targeted. We got great value. Never thought that we'd get Icky, fired up to get Icky. Never thought that we'd end up with Matt. We got Matt. So today was just a blessing.
Is there one position that you leave the draft with feeling you got to upgrade still?
Yeah, I'd say a return specialist. We need someone to emerge in that area. We have some people on our team that can do it, but we'll look into free agency and some other places for a return specialist.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
Matt, I know you've touched on it, but I'm going to ask you to elaborate on Scott and the scouting department's job this weekend after really I know this was their second draft, but really their first full year of being able to, have their foot on the ground and be the scouting department they want to be. I know you lived it, but from landing a top tackle to staying in contact with Cleveland while simultaneously negotiating for number 94, to then trading back up for Brandon Smith, to landing an edge rusher, a corner, an O-lineman. Just what do you make of Scott and the scouting department's work this weekend and their ability to execute your game plan?
Yeah, I would say that Scott's greatest impact comes when you look at the work being done by people whose names we don't ever hear, right? When it's Samantha Diamond as a scouting coordinator, when it's all the assistants on the road, it's the scouting interns in place, because it's amazing. Like, you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of manpower to write these reports and get all the background and get all this information on players so that you can make a decision on a clock in 8 minutes. And so I think Scott has built a really well, finely tuned, oiled machine. I think he does an amazing job of giving people a say, but at the same time having a standard for what he wants. Dan Morgan is, I think a tremendous component to that. I think Pat Stewart's a tremendous component to that. Cole Spencer, as our director of college scouting, really firm in what he believes in, but still, loves to talk and discuss. I think Samir does a fantastic job in terms of being disciplined about the money, but there's many, many, many others. And at the end of the day, what I love about working with Scott is, he spends so much time around our team that he understands, hey, this is how we want to play, this is what we need to make our team better. And so his constant question is, hey, what's the vision for this player? How are we going to use them? So he's not just picking based on ego or instinct or anything. He's picking based upon how are we going to use this player and how are we going to win. And I think his whole staff is representative of that. And I'll just finish by saying, 2 years ago there was a combine and there were no 30 visits, there were no pro days really. And then last year there was no combine, there was a couple pro days, no 30 visits. This was the first year where everything came to fruition. And so I think in a year where we were limited in picks, we got a tremendous amount of value, and I think it started in free agency, and I think it's a credit to Scott, but also Dan, Pat, all the guys he has executing this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
All right, we're finishing up with Joe Person, followed by Chris Jenkins.
Hey, guys. You may have addressed this, I'm sorry. But it seemed like today there was a trend, tradesy kind of defensive players whose college production was good, but seems like the potential is even greater. Was that the idea, and where was that born?
Well, it's basically what presented itself on the board. When you're looking at it, there were a lot of good, accomplished players that had gone, and was standing there's a bunch of really athletic, almost freakish athletic guys. And we're a draft and develop organization. That's where we trust our coaches to get with these players and develop them. We have a vision for them. And so once we get them here, they become ours. We can get them with the coaches, put them in a position where they can excel. And so that's what we plan to do with these guys. And until they do that, until they become impact position players, we know that they can contribute on special teams with their speed and athleticism.
And then a quick follow-up, and I think you mentioned this, Scott, I don't know what day it was this week, but you weren't really that concerned about numbers this year. You just wanted good players. I wondered if you might expand on that, please.
I think last year, I think we ended up with, 11 draft picks last year, several free agents. This year we came into it with fewer draft picks. So our intention was, let's get quality players. let's get guys that can come in and help us, whether it's on special teams or come in, add depth, or can come in and compete. Someone like Icky, those are the type of players that we were focused on this year. And then, we're going to use the rest of the year, the 53-man cut. We'll use the trade deadline. It's just not the draft. There's several other avenues to acquire. And so we're going to keep our eyes open for those as well.
How many UDFAs or undrafted guys do you expect?
We're working on that right now. Our guys are upstairs calling. I can't remember if it was like 12 or so. Is that what it was?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. We expect to fill those, though.
Hey, this is Chris Jenkins with Charlotte Vibe. Sorry, my video went out, guys. A little piggyback off of Joe's question, but I know earlier you mentioned about return specialists being a big need. I was just wondering, seems like with this draft, you guys got a lot of the big priorities checked off. What are the next priorities, and what would that process be like for the undrafted and the free agents for the guys next? For you, Scott.
Well, like you said, obviously the return game is one area we want to improve. We just want to improve depth everywhere in that competition. So whether it's at linebacker, whether it's at DB, there's other spots that we're going to add to this, receivers. We'll do that, and we're going to do that through free agency at this point.